Hello and welcome to today's special pitch event and roundtable discussion focused on transport and mobility. My name is Cal Andonov and I am truly delighted to be your host today, along with Ken Gatz, founder and CEO of Proceeder. Welcome, Ken.
Thank you, Cal.
I am also delighted to be accompanied by a very diverse panel of guest speakers that we've got today. On that panel, Betty Bryant, principal at Oven Capital, Raymond Zhang, managing director at Honda Innovations, Anush Shah, senior director of investments and strategy at BlackBerry, Stephon Crawford, principal at GM Ventures, and Josh Burke, managing director at Magna Technology and Investments. I will have each of them introduce themselves later on when we start the discussion. So let's first have a look at what we've got on the agenda for today. First, I will give a brief overview on some of the latest data on transport and mobility, allowing that way more people attending live to join in the meantime. This will be followed by the pitch session that we've prepared today with Proceeder, which will be led by Ken. And then I will host the roundtable and Q&A session, with which we will sort of finish off. I would like to remind everyone that you can submit any questions you may have via the questions and chat function on Zoom, or for those who are panelists or presenting to raise your hand. We will try to get back to any submitted questions. Well, we'll try to get back to some, at least, of the submitted questions. Before we start, let me just give everyone the usual legal disclaimer that no part of this presentation is to be construed as investment advice in any shape or form whatsoever. This is purely for informative purposes. A few words about us, Mosonia. We run two major online business publications, Global Corporate Venturing, which, as the name implies, is focused on corporate venture capital, and Global University Venturing, which focuses mostly on rounds raised by startups coming from academia. We offer a few other services, such as the GCV Institute, which is a training program for up-and-coming CVC programs. Of course, the GCV Connect platform, which connects corporates and other investors and allows them to exchange deal flow and investment ideas. And of course, the GCV Connect platform is powered by our partners and sponsors, Proceeder, with whom we have partnered to prepare today's session as well. As an organization, GCV is kind of well known in the industry for the events and conferences we put together around the globe. And as most of you know, we've already resumed and restarted our flagship events, the GCVI Summit in Monterey, California, which we did live in September last year, and the London Symposium, which we also restarted in November last year. Earlier this year, due to the emergence of the Omicron variant, we did have to delay a bit this year's summit, which is now scheduled to take place on June 22nd and 23rd in Monterey. And the London Symposium is scheduled for May 18th and 19th. So do hurry up to pick up your tickets if you haven't already done so. With that out of the way, let's have a quick look at the investment arena and what the data is telling us. The number of deals done by transport and mobility corporates was definitely up in 2021, as you can see on this slide, despite the shock of the pandemic from the previous year. And perhaps part of that shock gave a bit of a boost more than anything else to certain areas that have been very hot, like electric vehicles, which I'm hoping we would discuss in more detail later on during the discussion. In a similar fashion, when it comes to the exits of transport and mobility corporates, we did see quite a bit of upward momentum in both 2020 and 2021. And of course, that was all facilitated and favored, kind of giving tailwinds by liquidity injections from central banks, buoyancy in public and private markets, as well as the SPAC mania, which we witnessed. When we look at pure play transport startups, in particular, transport and mobility startups, again, similar story with similar surging numbers. And we have, of course, reasons to believe this is not just because of the tailwinds on the monetary side of things, but also because of truly exciting new developments in the industry. And I hope our panel later on will help us gain more insights on that. But before that, we've got the pitches, and I'm really excited because we've got 7 startups pitching today. The pitch session will be led by Ken. Before I pass it over to him, I would just like to say that at the bottom of the slide, I've included my email address for those watching live, and for those who might watch this recorded on YouTube later. Please feel free to reach me at kandonoff@globalventuring.com if you need an introduction to any of the entrepreneurs pitching today. So with that, and without further ado, over to you, Ken.
Thank you, Cal. Welcome, everyone. Very excited for this Transport and Mobility GCV Connect event. I'm just going to share my screen and just go over a couple of points real quick. GCV Connect is powered by Procedure, which is the official deal flow management and syndication platform of Global Corporate Venturing. We have many large corporations that are managing their deal flow with our technologies. Our mission is to connect and facilitate syndication and deal discovery between corporations and the innovation ecosystem. The Transport and Mobility event that we're doing today is part of that process, introducing these really great 7 great startups that have been selected from many that applied through the platform that we'll be presenting very shortly. One other thing to note is that we have launched a new product called Deal Teams. Deal Teams allows Salesforce clients to manage and collaborate on financial transactions within their Salesforce instance. So much, if not almost all, of the Procedure technology has been migrated to Salesforce, and it's an application that corporates and other investment groups can download and utilize directly within Salesforce to manage your deal flow management operations. And so with that, I'm going to stop sharing and let's get started with the pitch event. Just a reminder, if you after it's a 5-minute pitch with a 3-minute question and answer session, just looking to the panelists for questions, and we'll turn that over to them. So first up is Maha Achor with Mitaway Corporation. Hello, Maha.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Maha Achor. I'm the founder, CEO, and CTO of Mitaway. So I'll share with you our solutions to enable autonomous driving as well as driver assist. I founded the company in 2017, and of course, we work on sensor that can operate in any operating environment, all weather, and provide a full perception at a much longer range for early detection. As you know, that this is a very large market, 12 billion by 2027. We're also actually in the drone business and the aerial, the UAM, UAS, UAVs. As you'll see in the bottom, we just signed our first commercial agreement with the #1 leading tier 1 in that sector. It's $100 million with the start of production in 2023. We're currently raising a Series B, and we raised a total of $60 million, including debt financing. Our products consist of semiconductors, basically the missing components that enables these kind of capabilities that I will describe to you, as well as the full integration of the machine learning and AI in the sensor fusion. Very capable team, only 35 employees, being able to accommodate all of these capabilities. As you know, in the core of any driver assist or an autonomous driving are the sensor suite, and of course, all the software layers that runs on top of that. We are very proud to have filed over 300 patents, with 46 of them being issued, and they cover mainly the front sensors, as well as all the application to the sensor fusion, as well as the edge compute in the network. Yes, we do have some product in the 5G. That's why we're quite connected to the V2V, V2X, V2I infrastructure as well. So that's basically the area we're in. The way how we solve this problem, we went in a different way from all the competitors and existing tier ones. We developed the front-end analog beamforming that basically works simultaneously with the advanced radar algorithm and MIMO, and provide all of these kind of capability to operate on the ground up to a kilometer range, detection of human up to 300 meter, and in the air up to 7 kilometers. As you know, that this is a missing sensor today that is highly needed for the eVTOL and especially the drone business, as cameras become an issue for privacy. And in particular, the long-range detection is our fame in this industry, meeting all the KPIs, including the speed of operation, the size, and of course, the cost. How we do that? These are all the radars that you can see today. The latest one from Mobileye on the top left that was introduced at CES, as well as the top tier ones. You can see Bosch, Denso. On the bottom here in the center, you can see the Conti's imaging radar. All of them, they operate either at the long-range mode or the high-resolution mode. They do not operate both simultaneously. And that's exactly what Mitaway does with its Marconi chip, and the front-end module is to be able to run both of them simultaneously. And that basically enables the detection of pedestrian motorcycle at 300 meter, the long-range detection of vehicles at 900 meter, and also the rear view of trucks. All the other radars today, they have the issue of being blinded by the multipath that's created by the trailer. And we have tested our radar with almost every single AV trucking company, and everybody confirmed that our radar is the only one that can operate with that. The other, of course, key factor is the unprotected left turn that's becoming more and more mandatory in some geographical location, detecting very fast coming motorcycle beyond 300 meter. And in that front corner radar where you only have a 7 by 7 centimeter. So integrating the front end with our antenna in package module is becoming a must. I take a very big pride in my team, and the fact that we have 46 issued patents in that field. You can see here all the different sectors. Some of them are public. We want to own this market since we are the first movers. We have a lead of 2 to 3 years against all the competitors. We are not a tier one. Our tier one is the customers. That's why you saw Denso leading the past 2 rounds. And you saw also Toyota, Hyundai, and so forth investors in the company. And I will leave you with this as I take questions.
Great. Questions from the panel for Maha?
I can ask you a question. Hi, Maha. Nice to see you again. This is Josh.
Hi, Josh.
As you know, and everyone probably knows, we're an investor in Under, for full disclosure. So
yeah, you saw I put Under too on the slide too, right? For you, Josh.
Yeah, I was happy to see them on the slide. My question to you is where do you think this market is headed for companies such as yours? We've had kind of a strange couple of years with a lot of funding and a lot of OEMs choosing different technologies. Do you think automotive can sustain the market for your company on its own, or do you need a second vertical? And then B, where do you think the story is going in the next few years for Mitaway?
Well, in the aerial space, especially for this tier one, for drones and others, it was very clear the range is very critical. And today there isn't a single 24 gigahertz radar that can meet 7 kilometers. So that's what we're heading in the air. And we have a leader. And of course, with this $100 million contract that we signed with next year SOP, it's quite critical. In the automotive sector, we're seeing more and more demand for higher performance. I think the MIMO mania is over because people realize in dense clutter, MIMO doesn't work. As soon as you get to the longer range, you're only operating the steerable mode, which doesn't give you the resolution that you need. This is where the combination of steering and MIMO is becoming essential. And that's exactly where our technology sits. So I think on the 20th, I'm invited to speak along with TI and XP, Bosch, Conti at the IWPC, hosted by Audi, and its title is The Future of Radar. And it's very clear there is a need for a longer range capability because none of the cameras or LiDAR can meet this kind of capabilities, only of the radar. radars based on our technology.
Congratulations on your big commercial agreement too.
Thank you. And by the way, we're not competitors with Under, right? We complement what they do.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, Maha, this is Raymond from Honda here. Good to see you again. I think we probably met way back a few CES ago. I think you were starting to showcase in the suite. Very nice to see you make some progresses and getting into different markets. I think that's the right thing to do. I basically agree with Josh's the question there is where you look into. So one thing I wanted to ask you about a little bit more clarity about the commercial proof points. So you mentioned a few areas, automotive and an aero side. Can you speak a little bit about your success? A little bit more detail, like to kind of outline your differentiation compared to maybe other kind of radar startups. Actually, I'm not talking about the existing ones, but the other startups actually has claim their own advantages and claim similar distances. Resolutions are also a competitive area. So can you speak a little bit about that one?
Yeah, so at the end, right, it's all about meeting these KPIs at longer range. When you hear about this resolution, they operate in a very specific environment where you don't have very dense clutter. I showed you the example of the truck. And then the second thing is, how do you detect a small object at longer distance, which is exactly the motorcycle case for our unprotected left turn. With a 7 by 7 centimeter real estate in the corner of a radar, you really cannot afford having a very large antenna array printed on a PCB. You need to have these kind of Lego blocks that we are building to shrink the size while still improving the performance. So the only way to get the additional 15 to 20 dB SNR is with this front end solution. So I'm not going to mention, of course, names, but we have been involved in one of the projects with a leading US OEMs and a European tier 1, and in particular for the front corner and the front center performance. It's all about meeting those longer range. In the aerial, the drone business is booming, and I hate to say that the war is actually increasing the need for these drone applications. And governments are now mandating that cameras cannot be used during takeoff and landing. So the radar is becoming the only sensor. And we are delivering a custom chip along with we're building our own standard chip to this #1 radar company in the world. And we're very proud to be selected compared to other leading chipsets in that sector because of our IP.
Great presentation, Mahan. Very exciting progress. Thank you so much. Next up is Arik Ohana with Envoy Technologies.
Thanks, Ken, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to everybody today. Let me just quickly share my screen. As mentioned, my name is Arik Ohana. I am the co-founder and president of Envoy. At Envoy, we provide a service that we call mobility or e-mobility as an amenity. These are exclusive electric vehicles that are on site at communities. We provide a turnkey solution that and really just an exclusive electric car sharing solution for apartments, hotels, and workplaces. We provide the technology, the EV fleet, insurance for drivers, as well as roadside assistance, and electric infrastructure that goes into apartments, hotels, or workplaces. So this is a full turnkey solution. We're unique in our business model where the property, like an apartment, will pay for our service to be on site, and then drivers will pay to use the service, and we're splitting that revenue 50-50. So essentially, we're not working to cover our cost of goods. Our cost of goods are covered by the property paying a monthly fee. Since we are an all-electric vehicle fleet, we created from the ground up the technology, not only to have front-end registration and reservation system for users, but also all the tools needed for electric vehicle fleet management, including in-car hardware that collects telematics and data from the vehicles, as well as integration with EV chargers into the built world. So this is our 5th year of operation. We're currently in over 180 communities, representing something like 40,000 residents. We've had over 100,000 bookings in our vehicles in major urban centers. What's unique about our business model, because it's all electric, is about 85% of our users, the first time they've driven an electric vehicle, is on our platform. So we're really spearheading both EV education and EV adoption. Our major focus has always been on the tier one real estate groups across the country, both regional and national operators, many of which today are currently our clients, which we continue to expand into. We are different than other tech-enabled mobility services. One of the problems that we see, with car sharing currently, or just the replacement of your personal car, it needs to be as convenient, reliable, and affordable as owning a car. And car sharing currently is not very convenient. You have to go to that car to use it. And ride sharing, where it's very convenient, you push a button and it's at your doorstep, it's not very affordable. What we've created are these exclusive vehicles for communities that are parked at your doorstep, which really addresses all three of the major issues to get over personal car ownership. And because the property is actually paying for the vehicle to be on site, we're neither asset light, which you would see with Turo or Lyft, where they might share the assets with their competitors like Uber or Getaround, or on the other side of the spectrum, like Bird or Zipcar, who have to acquire their vehicles, deploy their vehicles, market their vehicles, and wait for utilization to cover their cost of goods. Our business model, where the property is actually paying for the vehicle, creates an asset neutral, so we get really the best of both worlds, where we can really have full access to our inventory of fleet, as well as other positives. So really just wanted to kind of kick off where we see the future going. What we know today is commercial real estate is not ready for the energy demand needed to power tomorrow's mobility. Essentially, right now, the market share of electric vehicles is between 1% to 2%, but by 2030, 30% of all new vehicles, and probably even more, will be electric vehicles. Most of those vehicles will be parked at commercial properties, and they'll have a huge energy consumption and huge costs to landlords. So we're really actually building the technology, connecting the EV to the built world, and matching mobility demand with energy demand. And there's some exciting solutions that are in the horizon for this. We can look at, electric vehicle as both a mobility and energy storage, where Tesla Powerwalls are just energy storage. You could actually use a Nissan Leaf, for instance, for both energy storage and for mobility. That vehicle has the ability to actually push energy back into the property. So you can collect energy when it's sustainable and abundant, and then push it back into the building when it's expensive or dirty. And this is stuff that's readily on the horizon. We have developers that we're working with that are currently building properties with minimal parking or no residential parking, requiring all residents to not own a vehicle who live there, and looking at ways to integrate the electric vehicle into microgrid integrations. So that's the end of the presentation, and open for any questions.
Hey, Eric, this is Stephon G Ventures. I really enjoy this concept that you have where you're tackling this charging infrastructure issue with commercial real estate, and you have this business model coined, amenities as a service. Can you just speak more around this amenities as a service to the audience?
Sure. So, we've all been to hotels or lived in apartment buildings that have amenities. Standard amenities are like a gym and a pool. They cost property owners a lot of money to build out. They take up a lot of square footage, and there's an ongoing OpEx cost. And they don't really provide services that actually contribute to people's, lifestyle or reduction of cost of living. Providing mobility as a service, as a real estate owner, you're getting a lot of benefits. You're providing a service that's enabling people to lower their cost of living. You're also enabling yourself to actually get development incentives like parking reductions or density bonuses. So there's a lot of positives that are actually coming from providing mobility as a service on a community level.
This is Anuj from BlackBerry. How are you thinking about pricing and kind of the commercials? Are you able to, obviously Zipcar and others, they do have some arrangements that, they're in apartment building parking lots. Are you looking to undercut them on pricing, be competitive, and how does that impact your margins given, the operational life cycle of the vehicle?
It's a great question. Obviously, Zipcar for years has parked, vehicles into private communities. The major issue there for property owners is they're typically developing buildings with gated garages, and they're restricted to public access. So we're providing a service that they can bring into their building that's just for their community members. And because of that, they're willing not only to provide the parking and the electricity to charge the vehicles, they're actually paying for the vehicle to be on site. So we see that not as kind of an undercut. This is more of a catered amenity. We can actually provide the correct car type to the right community type. So you can think of affordable housing or student housing requires more of an economical vehicle, where luxury would require more of a luxury vehicle. And those two sects might not share the same assets, but this enables both to actually have access to shared mobility.
Got it. And the vehicles always come back to the same location.
That's correct. So the vehicles actually belong to the community. It's essentially station-based round trip service.
Okay. And how do you think about servicing? I guess it's electric, so less compared to a gasoline powered vehicle, but how do you think about kind of maintaining the health of the vehicle and the cleanliness?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, we've had over 100,000 bookings, several hundred vehicles in the marketplace for a while now. We rely on third-party services that are mobile services that come on site for both car washes. One of our investors is Goodyear, and we work with their service called AndGo, who actually bring Sprinter vans on site with all the equipment needed to change, balance a tire. So they can do all those services on site versus us having to take those vehicles from the property and take it to a service station. So from that basis, our cost of operations is much lower, as well as we need less of a fleet management team to operate our fleet as well.
Great, thank you. Very cool concept.
Great. Well, thank you, Eric. I look forward to living in a community where I could have an electric car amenity as well. So very exciting stuff. And thank you for presenting. Just as a reminder to everyone, all of these pitches, the videos, as well as presentations are available on the GCV Connect platform, and you can connect directly with the entrepreneurs through that platform. We've had, hundreds of connections to date. And so, continuing to bring these corporations together with these amazing, rapidly growing companies. With that, next up is Julia Drozdnik.
That's from Fixar. That would be easier. Thanks, Ken.
Julia from Fixar. Welcome.
Exactly. Thank you. So happy to be here. I'm Julia, and I'm co-founder of Fixar. So let me share my screen. So again, my name is Julia. Thanks for having me here. And this is Fixar. I'm going to tell you how Fixar, the Latvian company, the Latvian developer of autonomous drones, developed the UAV industry and contributes into it and brings the best-in-class economic efficiency on the market. Did you know that only over the last year, over 800,000 drones were sold to serve the commercial applications? And every day, the thousands of commercial drone operators all around the world face the challenges of trying to execute the commercial missions with the non-professional equipment. So basically, the two main options they have so far is the quadcopters, and they are great in many ways. Then the problem with them is that they cover on the short distances, so it's not applicable to inspect the long-range assets like oil and gas pipelines or roads or the power lines, etc. There is another option like planes. They're also great in many ways. They fly longer, but the problem is that they need the additional equipment that brings additional costs, lack of safety, and they need the catapult or runway to start and the parachuting system to land. And on top of that, none of the existing solution can carry enough payload to collect the precise data. So we were thinking about what if there any way to combine the both worlds to take all the advantages of quadcopters and planes without their downsides. So we spent 2 years on heavy R&D to develop all the proprietary technologies for Fixar, by Fixar, including autopiloting system, ground control software, avionics, radio link, etc. So we have now the full stack technologies for the autonomous solutions. And this is our flagship model, Fixar 007. It's not a secret agent, 007. It's just the 7 kilos is just the maximum takeoff weight. And it has, like I said, all the benefits of quadcopters and planes without their downsides. First of all, it has vertical takeoff and landing. It's full autonomous, so you don't have to have the manual control sticks or whatever. It's fully electric, so with zero CO2 emissions. It operates even in geomagnetic anomalies. Now it covers up to 60 kilometers on one battery charge, and it has quite impressive payload of 2 kilos. We're not new on this market. Our first model is already out of production. Now we're focusing on our flagship model, Fixar 007, and our next model that is now at technology readiness level 6 out of 9 is Fixar 025 with the distance up to 300 kilometers and with the payload of 10 kilos. So we hope to bring it to the market by the end of this year. So all this set of the technological advantages bring the best-in-class unit economics to our clients. That's the value proposition for our customers. So think about this: the typical mission that normally takes between 6 and 8 hours to do with the copter will take just 30 minutes with Fixar. So that's the value proposition. Here's just a snapshot of a few type of missions our clients use Fixars for: the aerial photography in mountains up to 4,500 meters above sea level, or the first responders to identify people under the snow, to find hotspots of the fire. We have extensive experience in the agriculture and in any type of inspections and delivery, even of the temperature sensitive biomaterials. We're quite a young company. We're just 4 years old. So far, we have developed the full stack solution in EU. We have quite impressive IP portfolio. We met all the regulation in the United States and Canada. So far, we sold 55 units, so collected LOIs for 8 million. We're on radars of a few large enterprises. One of our latest recognition is we are finalists of Edison Awards in the autonomous robots. So now we're looking for 6 million to execute the LOI, scale sales, penetrate to the new markets, and create the new IPs. So that's briefly about Fixar. Thank you very much. Happy to take any questions.
Hi, Yulia. Nice presentation.
Thank you.
My question is around your, after your raise, your next 2 years, and how you intend to grow into the market. Do you think you'll continue to focus on areas that are already using drones today, like mapping images and inspection, or are you going to try and tackle kind of the golden goose of last mile delivery? And where do you think that's headed in the industry?
Yeah, thank you, George. That's a very good question. So like I said, the beauty of Fixar Technologies is the scalability. So we scale the flight distance and the carry capacity with each new model. So as you asked, we are focusing now on exact last mile delivery, which is not that in demand comparing with the cargo drones. So the next model we have in mind is Fixar 300. But as I mentioned on my slides, is that we embrace the local regulation that is now in place, and that makes some missions available for the market. But at the same time, we're looking forward and can develop the models that will be acceptable for the future. For instance, the air taxi takes a lot of questions from the market, right? But the cargo drones with the carry capacity of 100 kilos might be a sweet spot. So that's exactly the goal where we're looking for, having all this background with the scalability and with the polished technologies that we already have.
What impressive payload, even for your
Thank you.
model.
Sorry, say it again.
Just for your current model, the payload is pretty impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, what is really important, this practice came from the big aviation. Aviation is the ratio between payload capacity and the maximum takeoff weight. So in big aviation, 0.3, if I'm not mistaken, is something that is acceptable. We have 0.27. So, and compared with other models, we have the best ratio on the market and the best in class economic efficiency compared to the other alternatives, not just the quadcopters, but planes, and of course the conventional means.
Hey, Yulia. Thanks for a very nice presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you are attacking a very sweet spot, I think, in the market. So can you speak a little bit about your kind of business model? Where you going forward? Are you just selling hardware? Are you operating?
Sure.
How do you scale to different use cases? Who is doing the installation? What are the cameras for surveying or mapping? So yeah, just understand that a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for the question. So we have two scalability components. The one is the scalability for our technologies. The another one is scalability of our business model. We do not invest into scaling the manufacturing facilities since we're developers, not the manufacturers. And that is why we do not just sell our current product to the dealers, but we do sell the license for the licensed manufacturers. Our first facility will be settled in India. And so they buy the license from us, they build the drones based on our drawings, instructions, etc., and they pay the royalty fee buying the software bundle per each unit they manufacture. That means the embedded autopiloting system, that is our proprietary autopilot, ground control software, black box, and the other components, everything that comes with the software. Like I said, we provide the complete solution without any open source software, any third-party software. So that's the way to commercialize.
Thank you. So just a follow-up question on that. So when you talk about selling the full solution in the software, are you selling the software for the workflows for like agriculture, for insurance, inspection, or is that you work with partners who provide that?
Thanks, Anush, for the question. I guess you're talking about the post-processing software to process the data, right? Is that?
Yeah, to derive the insights.
Yeah. So since our solution is universal for any type of missions, it can be delivery, it can be LiDAR inspection or any mapping. Thanks to the swappable payload module, our clients can easily change the payload and use the same vehicle for multiple applications. That's again the point of saving their budgets. And the data that is collected with Fixar is absolutely appropriate to be post-processed with any other software. Since there is a lot of the different software in the market, we see the opportunity to integrate it into our future MyFixar platform that will be available by subscription model. Where the clients can store the data, check if it was collected with the enough precision, and then post-process it with the different software that will be available again through that platform. It's kind of one-stop shop.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great. Well, great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Next up is Kazem Zandi from One Silicon Chip Photonics.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kazem Zandi, and I'm the founder and CEO of One Silicon Chip Photonics. Happy to be here. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Go. Founded in 2015 in Montreal, Canada. We are 80 employees, but the research goes back to 2007. We basically targeting $40 billion market by 2025, and surprisingly $1 trillion by 2035. We have prototypes, 8 patents, and $8 million investment so far. So we are an OEM. We are selling inertial measurement units to autonomous vehicle market. That includes drones, robots, tier 1 autonomous car suppliers to land into our outdoor industrial robots, even underwater robots, ships, and sea robots. So an IMU has 2 key components inside, accelerometer and a gyroscope, and it's used to basically positionally navigate the vehicle. Here I'm going to talk about the gyroscope because that's the biggest challenge of the market, and that's where we focus right now. In terms of competition, there are 2 categories of gyroscope: MEMS gyroscope that basically are good for consumer application, but when it comes to high end, there is fiber optic gyroscope that are very accurate, but the cost is very, very high, much higher than the MEMS. And what autonomous vehicle basically needs in terms of performance, which is a factor of bias or error, it's below 2.1 degree per hour. And MEMS cannot provide this level of performance, but however, these guys can. The problem, however, is the cost. So what we are doing, basically, we are playing in this range, anything from below 1 degree per hour to the really, really high end. So what are we doing? We are basically providing this compact solution that reduces the cost and size for this autonomous vehicle market. So One main problem with AVs is the GPS denied environment. When the vehicle enters into a GPS denied, such as tunnels or parking lots, or even simply driving in downtown. And for example, a MEMS IMU can create kilometers of position error when it is used in a GPS denied environment. So it cannot work. And as I mentioned, these fiber optic gyroscopes, they are very good, but the problem with them is expensive and they're not scalable. And that's what we are basically trying to solve. We are replacing these fiber optic gyroscope with a very compact product based on the photonic integrated circuit technology. And by doing that, we can significantly reduce the size, cost, and the power so that these autonomous vehicle customers can basically integrate it at the efficient cost. For example, you see this. They're using these bulky fog and IMU, and each of them is costing $10,000. So that's not going to work in a scale. They really need a low-cost product. So this dead reckoning basically uses anywhere for LiDAR mapping, lane marks, robustness to tunnel, or urban area where the GPS gets lost. We got the MK1 basically built with tremendous performance. We are the only one in the world that has achieved this level of performance with the size and the cost. And we are building basically different product for different market. Basically, we are reducing the size and improving the performance. We're raising our $6 million seed. 4.5 of it has already been secure, and 0.5 of it on the private side as well. So we're looking at another $1 million to close this round, and started a production selling to two of our customers. They're publicly available, so that I can mention their name, Thales and Hitachi. And then further along, we will raise our Series A to basically sell it to the autonomous cars by end of 2024. So this is an MK2 we've built for a Thales. The demonstration is available on our website, so please go there and if you're interested, watch that. So by doing that, basically, once we close this seed round, we believe that we can produce 10,000 IMUs at $500 per drone and generate $5 million by 2023-2024. And then later on, as I mentioned, raise the Series A, ramp up the production, lower the cost to $300 for autonomous cars, and generate $90 million by 2025-2026. Thank you very much. This is my contact, and happy to take any questions.
Hi, Kazem. Thanks for the presentation. I'm really interested in this space, and I agree with you. There is a bit of a sweet spot where maybe we can achieve a similar performance as fiber for less money. So maybe two questions for you is, first, why do you think, at least for today's applications, that dead reckoning isn't sufficient to overcome, GPS issues? And then the second solution is, our second question is, why do you, maybe just if you could talk about some of the competitors you have in the space and why you think your solution is the best.
Yeah, sure. So, the dead reckoning can be provided by fiber optic gyroscope. There's no problem. So that product can serve the dead reckoning. However, the MEMS cannot. But the problem with that is super expensive, tens of thousands of dollars, right? But why do we need it? Because, obviously these AVs are going to face different environments where the GPS can be compromised. But even weather, if it's foggy or if it's cloudy. So reliably, positionally navigate the vehicle for at least 5 minutes, that's minimum. You can even have 20 minutes of GPS lock, but you need at least 5 minutes to position reliably navigate the vehicle so that you don't get lost. The LiDAR, however, can provide some information too. So this is a complementary solution. It's not only the gyro. Both of them are needed for these two cases. But the problem with LiDAR is that it's vision-based. When it's dark or foggy, and there are some limit, where for gyro, it's basically weather independent. So it can function at any time, anywhere, no matter what the weather condition is. As for the competitor, the biggest competitor we have is that is using similar technologies, Anelo Photonics. in the Valley area, but their cost is higher than us because our manufacturing process is much simpler. They are a gyro company. We are an IMU hardware, and basically the end cost for the product, we believe, will be more significant, higher than what we do. Our IP is completely different, so we have really different technology, but the market is the same.
If I could just a quick follow-up, I know the company you're speaking about as well, and talk to us about your decision to develop the entire IMU.
We've already basically prototyped the accelerometer, which is laser-based. Again, it's an optical accelerometer. We're going to integrate the gyroscope on the same chip with the accelerometer, and this is super cool because then you can have the whole 6-axis IMU basically integrated on chip. Same thing that 20 years ago MEMS did. Basically, MEMS chips is we are doing it with optics, but with significant performance and improvement.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Because what type of customer validation have you collected from the auto side today?
Auto, we don't have actually. Thank you for this question. So the purpose here is to basically find an automotive partner, hopefully to start some pilot project and demonstrate our product. We don't have an automotive, however, we approached them. We were early. Right now, we are demonstrating on Thales autonomous train. So we're going to basically do the second phase a couple of months from now to live demonstrate the product. So what have we done so far? It's more in lab demonstration.
Hi, Kazim. This is Raymond here. Just quick clarification. You mentioned about the maybe 500. Is that right? 500 kind of target pricing for the unit. Are you talking when you say for AVs? Are you talking about more of robotaxi, or are you actually talking about like personal cars? Because
I'm talking about personal cars for the $500 for drones, not for cars. For cars, we are targeting 300. And that's personal cars, yes. At volume, right? It goes all with the volume. Again, the beautiful thing about what we're doing is we're using chip solutions, so it's very scalable, and we're using automated manufacturing. So it all goes with the volume. If you get to the millions of units, we definitely can target it $300 for cars, and maybe lower.
Great. Thank you, Kazim. Looking forward to hearing more. Next up is Gilad Zlotkin of Ovo Automotive.
Hi, I'm Gilad Zlotkin, CEO and founder of Ovo Automotive, calling from Israel. Let me share my screen here. Okay. So we are in the in-vehicle infotainment solution. We provide a SaaS solution for vehicle infotainment. We are enabling car businesses to serve, innovate, and differentiate on the road directly from the cloud. In the automotive industry, there is a battle for real estate. The infotainment system, that screen inside the car is highly desired by multiple industry players. Everyone is hungry to have direct interaction with in-car customers to provide personalized services on the go. And this applies to dealership, mobility players, commercial fleet, roadside assistant, leasing companies, and many more. The car screen is a platform for branding and differentiating the customer experience, for target advertising like insurance upsell, and for push notification, for example, for vehicle maintenance. But that space is tightly controlled by the car maker and the tech giants, Apple and Google. Everybody else is simply locked out. The ability to communicate with the driver is so important that some companies have actually been installing their own second screens. We are a team of cloud service delivery experts and experienced entrepreneurs, and we have created a unique solution to this problem. We provide our clients with a novel in-vehicle interaction, new opportunities for monetization that are seamlessly scalable and free from big tech control. Our solution is a patent-pending SaaS platform that allows clients, for example, a car leasing and financial service company, to connect with the driver via the car screen, to deliver services, and fully manage in-car customer experience. We are streaming the car screen application. We are streaming the application to the car screen, and the application is running in the Ovo Cloud Service Delivery backend. To connect to the screen, we are embedding Scene software client on the IVI, or we are using a USB dongle which plugs into the phone port. So we provide our client with a new space for customer interaction, a branded and differentiated in-car customer experience that is fully adaptable and fully managed. By streaming to the car screen applications that are running in the cloud, we provide agility, future-proofness, and security, which cannot be achieved when running application inside the car. We achieve strong traction globally despite of COVID. We will soon announce a joint solution with a major IVI vendor. A leading OEM reached out to us for a commercial fleet solution, and we are currently piloting it in Europe. We have signed a go-to-market partnership with a global connected car service provider. We have signed 2 car importers in Israel. We currently have 4 customers in the pipeline, and the potential is about 190,000 vehicles incrementally each year. There are more than 4,000 B2B customers out there, and we are currently looking for partners and customers, and mainly in the US. So I have built 5 startups, all cloud service delivery at scale. 2 were acquired and 1 went public. I'm a former head of virtualization at Radware. Mark Girardot was the head of internet business solution for automotive at Cisco. And Alon Litchuk is an expert in cloud service delivery and security. He is former head of security business unit at Radware. Communicating with the driver is a strong need in a very hungry market. Together with our powerful partner, we are bringing a disruptive solution to this multi-billion-dollar market. So far, we raised $3.5 million, and we are in the process of raising another $3 million. We welcome any further discussion to explore this investment opportunity or partnership opportunity or becoming our customers. I think I saw a potential customers, a car sharing company, Envoy, before, and I'm open to questions. Yeah.
This is Anuj. Thanks for the presentation. Just a good question on, well, I have 2 questions. The first one is on the software platform. Do you provide your own SDK and APIs that the app developer for fleet would have to kind of build on top of to stream to the vehicle, or can they take an existing solution they've already developed and leverage that investment?
Typically, it's existing solution. We are taking Android applications, Android applications that were modified for vehicle screens, horizontal screen. So we typically take Android application, we run it in the backend of our cloud service delivery, and we are streaming it to the car screen. That's why it's so agile. So a customer can modify an application, submit us a new application, and boom, you have it available on the fleet immediately. Okay.
And how do you think about connectivity costs? Because I imagine streaming the content in real time as the car's moving around would data on cellular.
This is a key component of our technology. So it's very efficient on connectivity cost, and it's very adaptable to the connectivity condition.
Yeah. Okay. I have more questions, but I'll let others chime in.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just a follow-up question on the connectivity. Yeah. I understand you make it adaptable, but in some cases, what if there's just no connectivity? What do you do?
Of course. So typically, the type of application that we are delivering are applications that are dependent on connectivity anyhow. Okay. Parking, fueling. So even if you would have this application embedded on your car, when you have no connectivity, it's useless to you. So those are the type of applications that we are delivering. So when there is no connectivity, we are not available, and those specific applications are not available to you anyway.
I see. Okay.
Great. Any additional questions for Gilad?
One quick one from me, if I may, Ken. I noticed on one of the slides it said that he is a serial entrepreneur. Would he mind sharing a bit about his previous projects a bit?
Yeah, actually, I'm coming from cloud service delivery to big telcos and big enterprises. I sold one of my companies to Cisco. Actually, I was the founding manager of the Cisco software development here in Israel, which grew to become one of the biggest employers here in Israel, which makes me very proud. We sold another company to Alcatel. So I'm coming from the telco, and this is my first automotive gig. Okay, very interesting. You know, we've seen a very sophisticated industry with some gaps on the IT side, and you know, we see this as a huge opportunity. Me and my partners actually identified this opportunity, okay? All my startups before were cloud service delivery in a very common way.
Thank you. That sounds
Okay.
great.
Great. Well, thank you, Gilad. Really interesting. Can't wait to start seeing those screens in the cars. Next up is Joaquin de Murillo with Ulabi.
Everyone, let me share my screen. Well, thank you, everyone. We are here all talking about mobility, but every big city has the same problem: traffic, and common traffic. So I want to begin talking about this. When you talk about mobility in Latin America on the mainstream market, if you want to solve traffic contamination, you need to understand that here you don't find mobility data, you don't find standardized data. There are a lot of operators, and you have a poor collaboration between public and private sector. So companies have a high entry barrier to attend this problem, and that's why Wallaby was born. My name is Joaquin Di Mario. I am CEO at Wallaby, a big data mobility company that offer trip planning solution for both B2B and B2C markets, integrating schedules and routes of urban transportation, micromobility, and ride-hailing operators. So as you see Wallaby for user, Wallaby suggests the best way to commute, considering time, distance, cost, and issues of the trips, thanks to other user reports. So we play with gamification models and road hacking techniques to make the app get viral. That's why when we launched Wallaby in 2019, we get more than 1 million unique users without any direct marketing action. Now Wallaby is deployed in 30 cities in 6 countries on Latin America. We are convinced that mobility is a key to build sustainable and inclusive cities, and our user community saved more than 30,000 tons of CO2 last year. So if you see the competition, Wallaby presents a collaborative focused solution that encourages people to interact with each other. We process this information to give them real-time insights, making our travel assistant more accurate than any other solution. Our information was born from real problems in this market. For example, our user can report the bus stop insecurity level, a street work, or change a bus stop location. So we generate more than 10,000 reports every month, thanks to our user community. Of course, the alternative industry, mobility as a service, and electric mobility are changing, it's growing. This allows to have a new opportunity of $1.8 trillion in the market. So we want to solve the problem in the first time in Latin America, where 100 million people suffer from a inefficient mobility network and have access to an opportunity of $150 billion. How we want to do that? Well, first, we explore different business models, but we began monetizing in 2021, offering transit data and mobility analytics to different industries. This is our main revenue. Now we're also working with big companies and big partners, offering trip planning APIs and co-branding solution in a software as a service. We have launched a new product now that will be available for every company. to promote sustainable transportation for their employees and to measure their carbon footprint. So if you see that, we have built a strong relationship with a lot of partners, and we have a client company like Google, Renault, Uber, or Intel, for example. So we are not only generating revenue, we also accelerating the go-to-market thanks to these companies. I have been working in mobility from 2012, but we launched with our co-founder our first startup in 2015. But Wally was born in 2019 to become the main mobility solution in emerging markets. Now we have opened a seed round of $2 million. We have already a little venture from Mexico inside. So if you want to know more about that, I can share you more data. I have an excellent team working by my side. Alex is in charge of operation, Franco in the technical staff, and Jose in the financial things. We are 20 people working now on Wally, and outstanding professionals have joined us, convinced that mobility is the key to build sustainable and inclusive cities. So many thanks for this opportunity. I am open to questions.
How would you describe your, I guess, your moats? What prevents others from building what you have currently built?
No, we have talked with a lot of companies, and we are a very good technical team, and our technology that maps information in the standard data that we need. For example, in CTFS standard data, that is the standard of public transportation. Well, we have the technology that allows us to map the information, that allows our user to edit this information and automatically upgrade this data layer and our trip planner. And this technology is something unique because any company in the world, and I have talked with the main companies in this industry in mobility service, nobody has the technology that allows us to map the information and to update the trip planning automatically. This is something very good for us, and that's why some big clients are coming to and asking for our data, like Uber, like Google, like Apple. So that's the core of us. And I can tell you that other companies in our state have received $10 million, $20 million of investment, and we also have received $200,000 of investment. So some people work with people and business, and we work with code. So we create a very strong technology that allows us to accelerate the go-to-market in this city where the information is not so good. And this is the key for us. Thank you, Betty.
Joaquin, talk to us about your data sources. I know in the States, in the past couple of years, regulators have required these mobility service providers to provide this data. Is the same thing happening in Latin America?
Oh, it's very particular in Latin America. Look, we find some public data, and we have tools that import the data and create the CTFS standard or the other standard talking about mobility. And we have like a middle layer. It's a real-time hub where we get the data from or a public API or an agency, or for example, the GPS from a user's cell phone. And this is transparent for others when we give this access to the real-time hub, for example, to get the vehicle position. We work, or we make the hard thing dealing with our public sector or our user to standardize data in this middle layer and to provide others. So it depends in the quality of data of each city. If we work with government, or we will work with the agency, or we put some editor user to map the city information. And then when the user community grows, we get more accurate data, because if we lose the sign-up from a GPS on the bus, we get the sign-up from a user, for example. This is, as I say, for a third-party solution company, it's not a problem. It's transparent because we get the data in the middle layer. So it depends the quality of the information in the city. If we use our tools, or we use the user, or if we import CSV or a data layer, or we also have the tools to map the lines or the stop or the schedules. Well, we have that tool. This is what I'm talking about, the strong technology we have.
Great. Thank you so much, Joaquin. And just a reminder about, this is global corporate venturing, and we've got companies that are presenting today from Latvia and Israel, the United States, Canada, Argentina. So we're really scanning the globe for these companies, and we try to provide, a diverse selection of companies that are presenting, but there are another 40 or so companies that applied to present today, and those are available on the GCV Connect platform. So last up is Robert White of White Motorcycle Concepts. Robert.
Good afternoon. I'm Robert White, the founder and CEO of White Motorcycle Concepts. I'm a passionate motorcyclist with a 24-year career in high-level motorsport. I founded White Motorcycle Concepts with the ambition to reduce CO2 produced by the motorcycle industry, developing market-disrupting innovation that significantly improves efficiency. Applicable to all motorcycles, our patent-granted innovation is an unrestricted Venturi duct through the centre of a motorcycle. The left image shows a cross-section of our high-speed demonstrator, reducing drag by a massive 70% against the current best in class, using efficiency gain to increase speed. The right image shows this incorporated into our capital light first product, reducing drag by 25%. This is the other end of the spectrum, using efficiency gain to increase range and reduce CO2. The e-motorcycle market is still in its relative infancy. The duct could be the key to unlock this. Our high-profile world land speed project, proof of concept, is the lowest drag motorcycle in the world. The Venturi also enables two-wheel drive regen subsystems not possible with current motorcycle design. It's a fantastic demonstration of the concept, providing a great platform to engage all OEMs. However, to add value to the patent, prove the concept in the real world, and build a sustainable business, we've created the WMC 300FR. Taking the learnings from the proof of concept is a conversion of Yamaha's latest release, the Tri-City 300, which uniquely can be ridden on a car license. This capital light approach to our first product not only reduces risk, but rapidly accelerates our route to revenue and enables us to make changes quickly and inexpensively. Throughout, we've engaged the customer, designing a product specifically for the first responder market, incorporating the Venturi duct, supported by a power assist hybrid with detachable batteries, reducing CO2 emissions by up to 50%. I've been involved with high-level motorsport all my career, developing multiple world championship winning designs from F1 to Le Mans. Ian's career started in the Unilever graduate scheme, leading sales and marketing teams for both large and small organisations. Together, we have the drive, network and experience to execute complex engineering projects, product launches and engage customers. We're all about delivery and have the foundations in place for success. Building on my extensive network, we have added strategic suppliers to enable us to robustly scale this business. Our work has been recognised by various government grant-funded bodies to the value of £750,000 since 2019. The concept's running demonstrator launch captured the world's press's imagination, and leveraging upon the momentum created by COP26, the WMC 300FR product demonstrator was delivered on the 6th of December in collaboration with our initial customer, Northants Police, with 80% of the other forces expressing an interest. The patent's target global market is currently 13.3 million units and worth an estimated $103 billion, all of which have to move to non-fossil fuels. The UK's first responder total addressable market is 10,000 units, with the global emergency services calculated to be 20 times greater. With a commitment for a pilot fleet this year and engagement with other UK forces and first responders, not including any patent revenue, we will sustainably grow to 32 million by 2027 and see us remove over 12,000 tonnes of CO2 from the fleets. In parallel, we're exploring a patent sale and have begun this process already. Demonstrating our financial efficiency, we've achieved all of the work to date, carrying little debt. We have a broad patent granted in the UK and US, and Japan and EU is expected to follow. It's difficult to determine an absolute value for the patent, but based upon the market opportunity, this could be multiple millions. With 3 million pre-money valuation, we're looking to raise 300,000 with 110 already committed. We see this investment supporting us through the initial cost term, predominantly production costs, raw materials and IP, with sales traction created, then funding future growth. We look to sell the patent or sell the business within a 5-year time scale, following many similar examples into the OEMs highlighted below. To close, we have a patent protected product, a robust supply chain and a manageable, respected customer that creates an investment proposition in its own right, affording us the scope to negotiate a comprehensive patent deal. So we're happy to take any questions on the concept.
Questions for Robert?
Hey, Robert, this is Raymond here. So as I was looking, yeah, very nice presentation, very unique technology. As I was looking through the presentation, and it's going into my mind because I think, as you probably know, Honda sells motorcycles as well.
Of course.
Most of our business is actually in the sort of Southeast Asia, very low cost kind of a mechanism in terms of in a motorcycle. So what's your thoughts on going down the cost wise, the market? When are you looking at to develop something for that? That's the first question. The second question, I think you, in one of the slides, you mentioned about hydrogen. So do you have any roadmap to think about the hybrid instead of just gasoline, but use hydrogen?
So on the first responder bike, we're running a combination of EV and combustion. So we use EV in the lower speed ranges, and then we move over to the aerodynamic benefit in the upper speed ranges. So we don't exhaust the batteries in the pushing against aerodynamic resistance. The motorcycles that we see the duct and the aero concept working for is really, we're seeing good benefit over sort of 60 k's an hour. So we're getting good manageable, measurable benefit from 50, 60 kilometers an hour all the way up to the upper speed ranges. And really, my experience in Formula One has all been about packaging and then exploiting volumes within a vehicle for aerodynamic gain, which is similar to what we've done on the bike. So as far as the power source is concerned, we would expect any future power source to work with the duct as long as it's packageable. Now, we've chosen the Yamaha Tri-City as one of the only bikes currently on the market where we can retrofit our tech into it and get a reasonable benefit. And we think that to extract the maximum potential out of the concept we've created, it would need to be something that was designed in from the initial ground up design of a motorcycle. So in collaboration with a major OEM such as Honda.
Who's doing your manufacturing today?
Sorry?
Who's doing your manufacturing today?
So our current product that we take to market is a base vehicle that's a Yamaha. Then we manufacture our unique parts and we convert them ourselves.
Okay.
That's all done in-house.
Robert, can I ask the air channel through the center of the vehicle, does that introduce complexity on the safety side?
So it actually adds some interesting benefits, to be honest. So a motorcycle generally unloads its wheels with speed. So it becomes more unstable as a motorcycle goes faster and faster. It's got quite a high center of pressure, and the aerodynamic influence of a bike traveling at high speed generally wants it to leave the ground. So in recent years, major manufacturers have added aerodynamic elements to create downforce. But what we've done with the duct is we've managed to remove the center of pressure, or the vast majority of the center of pressure, from the front of the bike, which means we've managed to create more load on the front and rear wheels whilst still reducing significant drag. So I would actually say that it has the chance to advance safety, reduce stopping distances, so, as well as reduce overall power needed to transport the vehicle through the air.
Very interesting.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Robert. Really interesting. And that wraps up our pitches for today. Again, please go on GCV Connect and check out both the videos from today if you'd like with your team, as well as the other companies that did not have an opportunity to present. There's a lot of great companies in there that applied. So with that, that wraps this, and I will hand it back over to you, Cal.
Thank you, Ken. Really great presentations today. So big thank you to the entrepreneurs who have presented. From my end, now we only have about 15 minutes or so till the bottom of the hour. So let's try to make the most of it and start with the panel right away. Now, I would like to have everyone introduce themselves. And briefly explain what are the specific areas within transport and mobility that they are currently investing in or are actively looking to invest in. And I guess we could start with ladies first, with Betty.
Sure. Hi, this is Betty Bryant. I am a principal at Woven Capital. Woven Capital is the venture arm of Woven Planet, which is a relatively new organization. Woven Planet was launched in January of 2021, backed by Toyota. Obviously, we are looking at mobility investments, but I also wanted to share that we look beyond just traditional auto mobility, and we are looking at adjacent verticals as well. We announced a couple CESs ago a smart city project called Woven City. And I mentioned that because that allows us to expand our scope of investment areas to include pretty much anything that goes into building a city, which is logistics, agriculture, healthcare, even fintech. So I just wanted to make sure that I convey that we are looking beyond just conventional mobility.
Fairly broad, yeah. Right. And then next, I guess we could go with Stephon.
Hey, I'm Stephon Crawford. I'm a principal with GM Ventures, so it's General Motors' strategic venture arm. So we report directly to the CTO of GM. And, you know, we do have areas of interest. We have 4 pillars that we invest through. It's electrification ecosystem, connecting the customer, autonomous experience, and the digital enterprise. Those are the 4 areas in which we look at. There's a lot within those areas. So we're all generalists within GM Ventures, but those are kind of the high level areas that we're investing in at the moment.
That's right. Thank you, Stephon. Anush?
Thank you, Cal. So my name is Anush. I'm Senior Director of Strategy Investments at BlackBerry, where I lead BlackBerry's corporate VC fund, which we call BlackBerry IB Innovation Fund. We're focused primarily on data-driven automotive startups that deliver rich business outcomes derived from rich vehicle data, things like predictive maintenance, usage-based insurance, and other interesting areas where the vehicles intersect with the environment around them, like e-commerce, where you want to do offers based on how many occupants are in the vehicle. And really the purpose of our fund is kind of strategically aligned with our Ivy platform, which focuses on in-vehicle data analysis for app developers.
All right, thank you, Anush. Raymond?
Yes, this is Raymond Zhang here. So I oversee this program called Honda Accelerator as part of the company called Honda Innovation, which is based out of Bay Area. So, but we do actually cover globally. We have operations in Europe, Israel, Asia, and of course, North America. We are reporting up to the chain where it's the corporate strategy office, or now actually for corporate development, corporate venturing, it's all different names, but eventually our charter of the organization is to connect with external innovators and startups, try to bring those technologies and business to transform Honda. We do things such as, of course, introduction, POC, and if it works well, it leads to adoption in the forms of either Honda being the customer or maybe make it into the kind of the production of what we wanted to do. We also are the key organization to spin up investments and mergers and acquisition. In terms of domains of focus, we generally think about it 2 ways. One is the core business, the technology and business, and the other one is emerging type of business. The core, of course, is anything relates to mobility systems and services, cars, planes, motorcycles, boats, because we do actually have business in the motor side. The EV right now is really front and center for us. That includes things like battery, anything relates to management, recycling, kind of storages. In general, just energy transition is a big thing in Honda today. Of course, we also cover things like manufacturing as well. For emerging areas is things that are in the horizon, I'll say 5 to 10 years or so. Yeah, so that's what we do.
Thank you, Raymond. And last but not least, Josh from Magna.
Thanks for having me. So for those who aren't, Magna is kind of just a company that you maybe never heard of. We're $40 billion annual revenue, one of the largest manufacturers in the world, 350 or so global manufacturing facilities with operations in, I think, 28 countries at the moment. So very global, and that is our focus. So the team is based in Detroit, Michigan, although we certainly have a global mandate. Every time I try and describe the areas that we focus on, it seems another area is added on, which I imagine is, I'm sure that sentiment is shared by my fellow panelists in the mobility, automotive, transportation space. It's pretty burgeoning. So the easiest way to think about it is we're looking at the future of manufacturing, the future of our industry, the future of transportation, and the future of cities, and everything within that underlying and adjacent to that. So it's a very exciting time and very broad mandate.
Thank you, Josh. Indeed. Now, sorry? Seems like he wanted to say something, but
go ahead.
Okay. Cheers. Now I had prepared quite a few questions for this panel, but I guess I'll just try to stick to some of the most important ones. Now, as I noted in my presentation when we kicked off today's session, with the pandemic and the ensued influx of liquidity, we've seen valuations soar, and this is true, I think, not only in transport and mobility, but in pretty much all other sectors. So in your experience as investors and in your view, how have valuations of emerging businesses that you invest in have evolved? And are there perhaps any areas within the broad transport and mobility space that may be still early stage or somewhat overlooked, that some opportunities might still be hiding? I would like to go first, Josh.
I'll just take, yeah, go ahead.
Right,
Josh.
right.
You go, Josh.
Oh, it's me. Okay. Great question. I think we're at a very interesting time. We've gone through 18 to 24 months of fairly extreme growth in liquidity and investments, which has increased valuations, a number of our companies, and obviously the SPAC craze has had a major impact on that. I think right now we've gone through a few waves or areas of focus where some incredible technologies have emerged, and we're now heading into a period, in my opinion, where the underlying technologies of these businesses, oftentimes it's not unique technologies, these aren't inventions on the technology side, but they're very well funded with very strong teams and solid investors with solid network ecosystems. And the winners are going to be those companies that are able to commercialize their technology. And that's going to come to business building and sales. And so when I'm talking with companies now, specific to our industry, those are my real questions of, great, you have a lot of money has been pumped in, you now are ready to go to market. How are you going to compete against 5 other companies that are doing a similar thing, that are also very well funded with very strong leadership teams? That's and the second part of your question, I'll just state that I think there's still a lot of growth in the area of infrastructure, and in the mining is maybe a bit too narrow, but in the area of finding underlying elements and materials that are going to push us towards the sustainability track that I think we're heading towards as a globe.
Yeah, all the more timely, as you say that, given the supply crunch we're kind of in. Ray, I think you wanted to add something.
Yeah.
And then Anush.
Right. So yeah, I agree with Josh. I still have plenty of opportunity here. So the particular ones I think is still continue to be developed. In particular, I think there is some space around AI and how it's used in mobility. I do think the machine learning has been in the same sort of methodology for the last 5-6 years. And I think it will still continue to see that going. And I do hope there will see some breakthrough because today's machine learning algorithm, the way they train is not really scalable. And then it's not traceable, it's not visible. And that area has to be, I think there's a lot of innovation that needs to come out of it. Sensor side, I think the last few years, particularly for automotive, it's proven that some of these technology would work, but I think it's time to kind of cost reduction and miniaturizing some of these systems. I think there's a lot of innovation will come out of that. As you see some of this, in this case, in one of the IMUs, for instance, right, they are putting on the chip. And this is really generally the direction the technology would go. You'll go prove the concept first with the bigger and more expensive parts. Now it's going down, smaller and lower in cost. I do think also agree with Josh that he used the example of mining. I think some of these technologies that use in automotive that was trying to be used in automotive will trickle down to the adjacent area, things like agriculture, mining industry, because the sort of slowdown in the AV actually push some of these things, people thinking about what are the more applications, what are the other applications these technology can be used in. So there's some innovation and some money that actually will be flowing in those for sure. Energy is a big thing, though. That's sort of a completely new kind of domain we're interested in looking at, and there will be tons of innovation out of that.
Anush?
So to address your original question about the pandemic and valuations kind of soaring during the pandemic, I think we've kind of seen a correction in the past couple of months. There's a lot of volatility in the public markets, especially with a lot of automotive focused companies that have de-SPACed, and you've seen the valuation have reduced significantly. And I think that has impacts on the private market as well. So a lot of companies now, as investors are thinking about startups and private valuation, I think they're going to reconsider the valuation expectations that were there maybe 12 months ago compared to now. It also depends on the trends that you're looking at. So from our perspective, BlackBerry QNX is used in over 195 million vehicles. We're working with all the major automakers and tier ones. So we have a pretty broad view, and our focus on investments or release companies that are looking to sell into the OEMs offer some sort of service and business outcome for these OEMs. So there we see the trends going towards, as you mentioned, electrification is a huge deal. The market is proven. All the automakers know that, so they're investing a lot in that space. And I think the second one that's tied to that is also edge processing. So when you think about ADAS and scenario analysis, it's an immense amount of data that's going to the cloud. If you could do some of that on the edge, there's immediate savings there, lower latency. There's huge benefits to the automakers, especially as their connected vehicles grow significantly in volume in the next 5 to 10 years. So those are the areas that we're looking at. And from a valuation perspective, I think the past 6 months have maybe brought some pressure on those valuations. And in terms of trends, for us, it's edge processing, AI, as Raymond mentioned, and bringing that to the edge as well is going to be huge.
All right. Thank you, Anush. Betty?
Sure, Anush, great point on the edge computing side. I just wanted to bring up another interesting area where more on the autonomous side. I would like to see a lot more companies thinking about incorporating humans in the loop, because right now I'm seeing a lot of interesting mobility businesses that want to just go to full autonomy, and they're facing a lot of technical challenges and customer traction challenges because we're not quite there yet. So one obvious example is teleoperations, but beyond that, like whether it's passenger car, autonomous trucking, or even drones, I think there's a lot of opportunity where we can just start scaling sooner than waiting for like level 5 type of technology by somehow incorporating, I guess, humans before the full autonomy process.
Makes sense. Stephon, any comments?
Yep. So, I've been spending a lot of time in the electrification space. That's one of our pillars, as mentioned. And, when you think about that, there's obviously, battery innovation right now is pretty hot. But, looking more upstream and downstream from the batteries, looking at extraction technologies for these materials that go in the batteries, and even looking at the end of life and the recycling of the materials. To me, these are very interesting spaces that I see a lot of companies actually starting to pick up and look into these spaces for innovation. But I think there should be more of an emphasis of looking at the entire stack, especially around this electrification push. So those are very interesting to me.
Makes sense. Now, I'm conscious we are past the half-hour mark. If you guys are okay staying for a few more minutes, so I could ask you just one more question and have your take on it. And it kind of goes back to what Anush said about valuations, volatility, and certain correction that's going on. Right. So what are your expectations on the big themes and the startup ecosystem within the transport and mobility, and particularly the ones that you invest in an environment where we already have rising interest rates, and we will likely continue to have them rising. We have still supply chain issues persisting and a raw materials crunch. So what's your view? What are your expectations?
I think we'll pull back. I mean, I think it'll be, so much of the capital that's been flowing into our industry in the past 18 months has been investors that don't typically invest in either deep tech or industrial or automotive or value areas, but have been because there's so much liquidity from the SPACs and for companies going public. As SPACs have slowed down, that liquidity has slowed down. And so I think investment will slow down as well. But, in parallel with that, we've also seen the rise of corporate venturing in this space. And, that's not going to go away. To compete into the next 5, 10 or years or longer, companies like everybody on this panel, we will continue to invest. We have to in order to compete. And I think players, the big tier 1 investors will continue to invest because they see long-term value here, but we will see a pullback from a lot of the newer players that were dabbling in it because they saw Tesla rise to the moon. They saw, the spike and pop at, from $10 to $36 in 24 hours. And, but those are anomalies in the market. And so it's cyclical. Automotive is cyclical. And so is everything in automotive. So that's what we're going to see, I believe.
Makes sense. Josh, Ray, you think?
Yeah, so I think the headwind definitely will be there because it's impact consumer sentiment in the market in general. That will trickle down into automotive and all the other areas. I do think though, as far as so the money, people will be more cautious where to put the money. Things are a little bit more. I think more the moonshot stuff. He mentioned Tesla, right? So those, unless it's Tesla, and there are people who are I think the space tech, for instance, will hit a little bit of deserve a second look by some of the investors. From a corporate perspective, for us, because up till now everything we do was strategic, centric, not financial. So we offer value to startup, not just on the money side, but mainly in the sort of collaborations and helping the startup to get to look through how the technology fit the market and fit our technologies. So that will continue. I think some of these startups that are very unique in their approach and very promising will continue to grow. It's more like a filter. Some of these ones that are kind of new have a little bit of trouble raising money for sure going forward.
Makes sense. Stephon, perhaps?
Honestly, I mean, there's always going to be a lot of macro and micro, impacts to things. And all I see this as is just new opportunities for innovation. So I know there's going to be more startups that are going to create new technologies that are going to be able to address these pain points and actually scale and commercialize and bring value to, investors and to the founders. So I see this as just more of the same.
All right. Anush?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's gonna be new opportunities coming out. So if you think about, rising interest rates, supply chain. If you go back to your first principles, what does it mean for the automakers? Like you saw the war in Ukraine impacted a lot of European automakers kind of wiring, right? So here's an opportunity where if you can consolidate reduce your BOM cost and use the different BOM materials that you have, number of chips, number of wiring. GM had a great innovation I heard about where battery management is now through wireless means rather than wires. It saves costs. You're going to see that across the board through software. Versus having 100 different little chips there, you now have a few domain controllers, high powered compute units that are running a lot of the vehicle functions. You use wires there. So companies that are focused on those kind of areas, I think, are going to really benefit because they solve a crucial pain point for the OEMs. And Raymond and Josh and Stephon can comment on that. So those kind of opportunities are interesting because they're partially due to macro issues like supply chain and so forth, where you now need to have a lower cost base for your vehicles. And so people solving for that. So startups that are solving for those, I think, are going to find pretty interesting opportunities.
Yes, fair enough. And Betty, your take on it?
Great. Sure. I echo what Raymond and kind of Stephon were saying. I think we're going to see caution, obviously, with valuations, but to Stephon's point, there's certainly plenty of opportunities that still remain. I do want to applaud the entrepreneurs that pitched today because a lot of them did highlight the problem that they're solving. And I think that is a really core part of a business pitch. I won't go down the NFT route, but I think if a startup is highly focused on like, what problem am I actually solving? Yeah, there's certainly plenty of opportunities instead of just following some kind of hype or a bubble.
Makes sense. Thank you all for this short and condensed sort of panel we had just now. Once again, big thank you also to the entrepreneurs who pitched earlier today. Big thank you to the people who are still watching us live all the way till the end. Stay tuned for our next webinar, which will be focused on e-commerce and the consumer sector, and will be scheduled sometime in the beginning of May. Thank you very much, and have a good day, wherever day, evening, or afternoon, wherever you might be in the world. Goodbye.